Hi everybody, I'm Emily Reuben, I'm one of the founders of Duchenne UK and I'm the CEO, and I'm really pleased today to be joined by Professor Volker Straub to talk us through the situation right now in Duchenne research. Volker, you've got about 100 different titles. Just quickly tell us some of them and also what you do.
So my name is Volker Straub. I'm the director of the John Walton Muscular Dystrophy Research Center, which is a big center working on genetic muscle diseases, mainly muscular dystrophies, at Newcastle University and the hospital in Newcastle. I'm also the dean, or deputy dean, sorry, for translational and clinical research. So really trying to see what is developed in the lab and translate this to the benefit of patients. I'm also a consultant in my own right, trained in pediatric neurology, and have done my PhD 30 years ago in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So this is one of the diseases where I have a long-standing relation to.
Well, it's a real privilege to be talking to you today. And I first met you when my son was diagnosed over 10 years ago. How much has the landscape changed from then to now, do you think, in terms of meaningful treatments for patients?
Well, unfortunately, in terms of a treatment that really makes a difference to patients with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, not a lot has changed over the past 10 years. The good news, though, is that in terms of being trial ready, being prepared for new clinical trials, we're in a much better situation. We have a better understanding about how to assess patients. We are collecting more data to also establish so-called biomarkers. So I think, particularly through Duchenne UK as well, we are accepting more clinical trials because we have a clinical research network. We have better care standards for patients with Duchenne muscular dystrophy in the UK. So all of this is better, but we are still waiting for a drug that really makes a difference to the disease course.
But we've seen that the EMA has recommended for approval one drug, vamorolone, and they're considering another new treatment, givinostat, from a company, Italfarmaco, next year. And then we've also seen some recent results in gene therapy. Talk me through what you think patients might be expected to be receiving as approved treatments in the UK in the next 2 years.
So all of these are exciting developments, indeed. The two drugs that you mentioned first, vamorolone and givinostat, are more likely to also be approved for patients with Duchenne in the UK. That's my expectation. I do think that they will, based on the clinical trials, make a difference and seem to have a positive effect. So this is great. I don't think that they will ultimately really stop disease progression. I would expect that they may slow down disease progression. In terms of gene therapy, you're right, a drug has been approved in the United States only for boys that are 4 to 5 years old. So it's a small group of patients. Nevertheless, that was positive response. Unfortunately, the phase 3 trial that used the same compound, the gene therapy, did fail to reach its so-called primary endpoint. So it didn't show a clear benefit of the patients that were treated compared to a placebo group. Now, not all of this is negative because there were also some positive outcomes. I do think, though, that in terms of approval and for patients in the UK to get access to the drug, we would need to wait a bit longer, though. Currently, no one really knows what the European regulators and the UK regulators will make out of those results. And we haven't seen everything that has been collected yet. So, I mean, watch that space.
And also there are other companies in the field developing gene therapy drugs that are in clinical trial now. So it's not just the one company in the US. There are other companies also developing gene therapy, so we can continue to wait to see more data.
And I think competition is really good, and that's what the field needs for various aspects. On the one hand, yes, one compound might be better than the other, but price is also an issue. The more competition there is, I think this will also mean that the prices are probably a bit more realistic and not as expensive. this is something where the payer will need to have a critical evaluation. What do you get for the price that you may need to pay? So I think the competition is good. Hopefully some of these other trials that are ongoing might come to better results. We don't know. This is why we have to do clinical trials.
And finally, Volker, a lot of people will be watching this who are personally affected by Duchenne and who do an amazing job in fundraising to help us fund the projects that are so crucial in making the UK research ready for Duchenne clinical trials and helping patients live their best lives. What impact has Duchenne UK had in the last decade in terms of improving patients' quality of life and on the research landscape in the UK?
Yeah. So how much time do I have? No, it's really, Duchenne UK has now been active for almost the past 10 years. We now have the so-called Duchenne Hub, so a clinical research network that allows us to do more trials in the UK than we were able to do before Duchenne UK invested into this. This has become a model actually for other countries as well. So that's fantastic. There are more boys and patients with Duchenne muscular dystrophy in clinical trials than ever before. At the same time, you have invested into the CARE project, so improving care for patients in the UK with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. That has a direct impact on quality of life, on life expectancy as well. And of course, Duchenne UK is investing into other projects, wheelchairs that are more smart than they were before, the exoskeleton, but also I think addressing some of the health economic issues with your Project Hercules. So all of this, I think, makes a huge difference. I think in the UK, we are in a better position in terms of, offering patients access to research, offering them through our networks access to the best care. So I think, hats off to Duchenne UK. You've done an amazing job. And I think what's also really important, and sometimes this is forgotten, you have also raised awareness for this disease with policymakers, with the health system. So I think, Duchenne muscular dystrophy is not a forgotten disease now. There's no nihilism. I think everyone is aware of the huge unmet need, that we need better drugs. And this is also, thanks to Duchenne UK.
Well, Professor Straub, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And if there's any more information you need on anything we've discussed today, then do go to our website, duchenneuk.org. Thanks so much for watching.